Welcome. We are here to celebrate the new State Leadership Council for the Policy Circles. I'm so excited to be here and thank you for joining us.
Yes, today we've invited council leaders from Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Texas to join us, share their experiences about their journey. And we have a few council leaders from each of those states that we'll be hearing from.
You know, the State Leadership Council leaders are so important because you are the one who expand the policy circle in your state. You encourage members to participate, to host meetings, and then you also really drive the engagement of members and circle leaders in your state because people care the most about what's happening in their communities. So thank you so much.
So before we head over to our first state and invite our leaders, I actually want to share a little bit more about the state leadership councils. Our councils consist of leaders in their state who volunteer their time to further the policy circle's mission and expansion in their state. A lot of our members come together on similar issue areas, and so the state leadership councils are super important to create that connectivity and that localized engagement. So first, we're actually going to head over to Indiana, and we have two of our statewide co-chairs with us on the line today, Katie Glick and Lacey Lewis.
Thank you for joining us. So Indiana is really the first state where we established State Leadership Council. You guys were our pioneers. So thank you again. And Lacey, love to hear from you on what advice you may have for State Leadership Council members who build it as we went. So
thanks, Sylvie. And it was really early on, we had a statewide event in Indiana, and that was my entrance to establishing my own policy circle in Fortville, Indiana. We piled up in a bunch of cars, a few pickup trucks because we are in Indiana, and we went down to the governor's mansion and we sat front row, my whole policy circle, and listened to a newly elected governor talk about his pillars for the future, infrastructure, workforce, government accountability, all of the alignment topics that we see and talk about at the policy circle. So that to me was so important to participate in. It was sort of the spark that my circle needed. And when the opportunity to say, let's do more of these events so that more circles can start, it just made a lot of sense. So the governor at that event had an embroidered pillow that had a quote on it that said, opinion is power. It's a Madam C.J. Walker quote. And that made so much sense to me individually, and it made so much sense. Opinion is power, learning and understanding what opinions and facts there are, and how we can have conversations around that's important to my circle, and it ended up being important to my community. So it just made a lot of sense to also offer that at the statewide level in Indiana.
And you and I have worked together on a number of different programs and opportunities for women in Indiana. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share some of the highlights of what the Indiana State Leadership Council has worked on this year.
Yeah, so I think early on we have always tried to be creative in our partnerships. We're kind of, a whole state here, statewide leadership council, but we really act as kind of a small town feel when it comes to partnerships, especially in relation to women's groups or policy groups. So we partner with Indiana Humanities, who is leading the charge on some suffrage centennial efforts to help write a suffrage brief. And then we planned a large suffrage event for circle members, potential circle members, and friends of the policy circle in January at the Indiana Historical Society. And one of the co-founders of the policy circle, Angela Brawley, and her husband commissioned a piece of art by a local artist. And it now is housed at the Indiana Historical Society, and it has the policy circle logo on it. And so that was really creative. And we've kind of used that as a theme throughout the year to promote and engage women. So the Policy Circle hosted the larger suffrage event in August that stemmed from Indiana. And we're really proud of that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you, Indiana. Thank you, Katie and Lacey, for for all that you do and all that you are. And now we are actually heading to my home state of Illinois with Nancy and Vasavi. So thank you, ladies, for being here today. And here they are. Hello. So Nancy, Nancy and Vasavi are there. Nancy,
Hello.
you've been involved with the Policy Circle for a while. You participated early in all of our summits, and you are a circle leader. You were a connector, and now it really makes you the perfect person to chair the expansion committee of the Policy Circle. So share with us, how you are planning to collaborate and convene others to expand the Policy Circle across the states of Illinois.
Sure, thanks, Sylvie. I was first drawn to the Policy Circle because it's the intersection of two activities I always loved. One being a women's discussion group, which is so wonderful, and another talking about public policy, which is so interesting. So several years back, I became a circle leader, and I partnered with my friend Leslie Munger, and we set up a circle in our town, and now it's an ongoing circle. We have about 20 women. We meet regularly. It's been a great experience. And as I was doing this, I realized that I had the kind of background where I really was a good fit for a connector. And I'll tell you why, because I had work experience. I worked in several nonprofits in Chicago, one Truth in Accounting and one Wire Points Illinois News, where both really talk about transparency in accounting in their financial reporting. And this is generally, public units, cities, states, school districts. And it was such a learning experience. It was really content heavy. It was technical. That was a great learning experience. And at the same time, I always worked on a lot of political campaigns. And I'm elected precinct committee person. My job is to get out the vote. You can imagine we're really busy now. But if anybody's worked on a campaign, you meet the most amazing people working on political campaigns. You meet movers and shakers and people who aren't afraid to knock on doors and talk to total strangers. And I just put together a great network with the technical experience and the campaign experience. I thought I was probably a good fit for a connector, and then ultimately for a state leadership council position. I had the pleasure of working with Lisa Carter, who's stepping off now, my co-chair. She's moving to Las Vegas, and Beth Feely, who's just awesome leader and has started several nonprofits on her own. And my job as running the expansion committee is to identify circle leaders in the state, women who have the potential to do that and start new circles. And we just had a great success story recently. My friend Alana Gordon, who's a Russian woman who's lived in this country for 20 years, always wanted to start a circle. We mentored her, got her off the ground. She just this summer started the Russian Bear Circle. I'm so proud of her with her Russian friends. I went to her first meeting. It was fantastic. And I think you were there too, Vasavi. I remember that. It was so good. And I'm so proud of Alana. And she's become such a leader. She's now speaking on Russian radio on different policy issues, one being the progressive tax amendment, which is on our ballot this fall. So that's my experience with Policy Circle. And, I hope Illinois can help the new circle leader, the new State Leadership Council women, as they move forward, with their new duties.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Excited to have you on board in that role, especially across Illinois. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And I have the pleasure of working independently with both Nancy and Vasavi on the State Leadership Council in Illinois. And what you just shared is actually quite compelling in that you're connecting with new women who start circles. So Vasavi, welcome. And it's a treat to have you because you are actually running for office for city council in your locale. So I wanted to see if you could share with us what inspired you to step into this arena of public service.
Sure, it's very exciting. First, let me thank you, Sylvie and Nicole, having me on this panel. It's very exciting. I'm running for City Council of Naperville. My interest, I have been passionate about public service and political engagement, especially the civic engagement part of it, from my very early childhood. And I come from a family background of strong civic leadership and public service. My grandfather actually worked with Gandhi when India was struggling for its independence from the British in the 1940s. So that actually was like my roots. And why I am running for office? I strongly believe community engagement with transparency is very important for healthy communities. So lately we are seeing a lot of division in the nation, not only in the nation, but small communities, closed communities like Naperville, and which is very sad. So it's not the time to just sit back and watch for what's going to happen tomorrow. And these times call for an action. And we need we need to bring communities together to connect people on common issues. So that's why I'm running for office. We need more connectors than dividers, not conflict, but the connection. So that I think I'm a good connector and I'm a people person. I can bring people together to engage them on a productive dialogue.
And Vasvi, maybe you could share with us how the Policy Circle has helped equip you for this new role.
I'm very happy to, Nicole. Actually, Policy Circle changed my life. It take me to a very good path, because before I joined Policy Circle, I was always struggled for a common ground, which gives a positive connection with people to discuss difficult things in a neutral environment. And it gave me a very positive impact in my life. And now I'm just looking forward to take all these initiatives like running for office and bringing people in the civic engagement. So it helped me so much, educated me on policies, which are not just information, it's fact-based policies put together very thoughtfully. And these can be engaged in civic discussions to empower and engage women of all walks of life. So it really positively impacted me. And I want to extend this because it helped me to be equipped with the education which I needed, deep knowledge about policies and also the government. I am one of the beta groups for the upcoming CLEAR program, which is really helping me a lot to learn about civic engagement, government, and civic American citizenship. People like me who are immigrants to this country, and we don't really know much about civic education part of it. We know the surface of what is happening, but this CLEAR program really opened my eyes to see how this great nation was built upon the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Federalist Papers. You get such a deeper knowledge, because maybe for the people who are born and went to school here in the United States, it may be easy for them to understand this. But people like me who grew up in India and then come here when you are in your early 20s and all that, you don't really know much about how the government is running. And policies are so important. Without these basic pillars of government, which is the Constitution, civic engagement, and American citizenship, and this state and federal government, you cannot really understand policies, how the policies are coming into the picture. So these policy briefs really helps you to understand what is going on and what is impacting the nation and day-to-day life. So this really a very healthy platform for everybody to come together and work on common issues. And not only this gave me knowledge, but I also, being a policy leader, I run a policy circle, co-leader with Darlene Sanger in Naperville, and it's called Community Connections. So you know how important it is for me to connect with the community in a neutral ground to make it stronger. Not only that, being in a policy circle, I found a circle of sisterhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vasavi, thank you so much for sharing and sharing more about the CLEAR program, which everyone will learn more about at another time. Sylvie, where are we headed next?
We are heading to Wisconsin, and I'm really proud to introduce Ola Lisowski and Julie Grace. So thank you, ladies, for being with us. Ola, you were a researcher for the MacIver Institute, and share, what inspired you to really step up and take a leadership role and become a leader of the State Leadership Council in Wisconsin. What impacts you hope to have?
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me, for inviting me to be here. It's such an honor. I have been such a fan of the Policy Circle since I started working with the organization a few years ago. And at that time, I was writing policy briefs for Wisconsin. And so one thing I did in that capacity was travel around the state, and I got to spend a lot of different time with different circles. And it was just such a wonderful experience, and it was a really great way to learn about women in different communities across the state, get to know them, learn about their priorities, what they hear from Madison, what their impressions are, their interests, and all of that. And that was just such an enlightening experience. And shortly after that, I started running my own circle right here in Madison, where women in our circle just tend to be a lot more, they've worked in policy or in politics or in government for a very long time. And so I realized just how different our circles are and how different the conversations were. And I really started to wonder what we can learn from each other. So when the opportunity came up to serve as a volunteer member, I honestly just jumped at the chance. I think that the Policy Circle model works so well, so phenomenally for small groups, but it's also really helpful to learn about what others are doing. And that really helps us push ourselves and learn more and do everything we can to just provide the most collaborative and the most successful approach. So that's something first that I learned at the summits that I went to down in Chicago with the Policy Circle. I started thinking about how we could restructure our own circle to work better for its members. And so the opportunity to just connect with other circles around the state, find our common ground, and build this sense of community of Policy Circle members in Wisconsin, and really get to grow and change women's lives. So I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ola. And Julie, thanks for being with us here today as well. And I just wanted to highlight, you and Ola both really played an important role specifically for Wisconsin members. The theme was courage over comfort. So I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit more about why the council chose that program and just some of the thought process around that.
My mic's muted, isn't it? A few weeks ago, we held our pre-launch event in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it in person. But like Nicole said, it was titled Courage Over Comfort, Women Who Choose a Different Path. And so obviously one of the main pillars of the Policy Circle is not only educating women and discussing important policy topics, but then kind of the next step is getting engaged, and whether that means taking the leap of running for office or getting involved on a local level or a campaign or a school board. So what better way to learn about women who are engaged than to speak to those who actually ran for office and who are currently holding office. So we heard from a state senator from Milwaukee, Senator Lena Taylor, Democrat, and then we also heard from a state representative Mary Felskowski, who was running for state senate. She's a Republican, and the conversation was moderated by another woman on our state leadership council, former state senator Leah Buchmeier. It was such an interesting and honestly an inspiring discussion. Bipartisan, I mean, I wouldn't even say bipartisan, I would call it nonpartisan, because it was just 3 women leaders from Wisconsin speaking of honestly a lot of similarities that they have had in how they chose to run for office, and then some of the experiences that they had while they were in office. I thought it was kind of interesting that none of them, grew up wanting to be a politician or, always aspired to be where they are now. It was something that they either were asked to do based on some of their leadership capabilities, or something that they felt called to do to help their community for different reasons. There are a few other similarities I just thought were interesting. I mean, all 3 of them, I think, spoke about, being doubted sometimes or spoken over in conversations. But then they also spoke about, some of the positive aspects of female leadership, which is, from their opinions, and I tend to agree, women listen well, they work together well. I mean, they spoke about the bipartisan nature that many, I think most bills in Wisconsin are passed by. And that's just not something that we hear all the time. I think it was probably surprising to many people on the call. So just a really great event. So nice to hear from some of our female leaders who took that next step and actually ran for office, and hopefully inspired some other women to get involved or do the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Julie and Ola, and all of our Wisconsin State Leadership Council members who really worked to put that unique, different, and inspiring program together for Wisconsin women to inspire them to become civic leaders in their community. So we are coming to our last state.
Yeah, we're coming back full circle here in Texas, and it's really my pleasure to really welcome the new State Leadership Council members, Ellen Troxler and Meg Stuzinski. Ellen, it's such a pleasure to have you, and thank you.
I always love talking with you ladies.
I know, and thank you so much. And you really personify, the what the Policy Circle is all about. You were one of the very youngest women elected to Austin City Council, and you actually published a book called Stepping Up. So I'm so excited to have you part of the Texas State Leadership Council and share with us what you hope to accomplish.
The Policy Circle, I think, is such a great resource for women. I'm so passionate about getting more women involved in public policy and politics. And I have found that one reason that women are hesitant to do that is because we like to have all of the information. We like to know all the facts. We like to be very well informed before we kind of put ourselves out there. And so while men kind of tend to be less risk averse and kind of fly by the seat of their pants, women like to be more thoughtful and organized and generally. And so I think that has been a common barrier for when it comes to policy and politics. Kind of the initial reaction when I'm talking to women about getting involved is, well, I don't know if I'm informed enough. I don't know if I know enough. I don't know if I'm really confident about that particular subject area. I don't know if I'm an expert. And so the Policy Circle, I have women ask me all the time, I'm really interested in learning more or getting involved, but I don't really know what to do or where to go. I'm not maybe quite ready to run for office, but I want to talk about these issues. And the Policy Circle is, a safe place to do that, and for us all to kind of learn from each other and learn together, and to ultimately, build up the confidence that we need to be effective in our communities. So I'm thrilled to join the State Leadership Council, and I really, feel like I'm a walking advertisement for the Policy Circle, because I really talk to that's the first resource that I can point them to. Anybody who says, I haven't really been involved in the past, but this one issue has really gotten me interested in learning more. And I know it's been tough during the pandemic and people are kind of struggling for connection in their community. And so I'm hoping that as we recover from coronavirus and we start to be comfortable around each other again, that Policy Circle is a really safe way to reconnect with your friends and neighbors and kind of open up the discussions about what we want to see for the future of our country. And, a lot of that starts at the local level. And that's another great thing about Policy Circle is that we can talk about the issues that are most impactful in our community instead of, depending on maybe a national news outlet that's more focused on the federal level. So, I'm just going to be talking to friends and neighbors and women and men. I think that you guys know that my dad wanted to start a Policy Circle because he wanted to know more too. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of this organization. Always happy to support you guys. And was at a gathering last night with some women in Austin who said, "Hey, we're ready to jump into a Policy Circle. Where do we go?" So look forward to connecting everybody soon.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for joining the inaugural Texas State Leadership Council. And we are seeking new members for the Texas State Leadership Council. So if you like anything that you've heard today and you're in Texas or Wisconsin, please contact me. My email is on the screen here. I also do want to just say a special thank you to council members who have served for a year or even 2 years, who are stepping off and moving on to bigger and greater things. Morgan Perrell, Claire Morrison, and Lacey Willard in Indiana, and of course, Lisa Carter in Illinois. Thank you so much for stepping up into this new role, something new for both the Policy Circle and you. We so appreciate your service and inspiring more civic leaders in your state.
Yeah, I have to say they're stepping off, but really staying very connected. I know that Lisa is moving to Nevada, so Lookout Nevada will be coming out here. So, well, thank you, Nicole. In departure, I want to remind everyone we are organizing each year an annual summit. This year, we took a pause because of the pandemic and everything that's happening. But next May, we will be organizing a summit here in Dallas around water and power. And the objective of the summit is really to bring attention to this intersection of leadership and policy. So we expand our knowledge and we step up and get involved and get our voice heard. So thank you so much. We have a really short video about the summit, so stay tuned. So I would like to offer a toast to all of our State Leadership Council members. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being involved.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
We love our leaders. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.